So this meeting has been called by Councillor Chitty, Councillor Greenway and Councillor McEwen for the express purpose. So we don't have a resolution to move. So at this point, we're going to open the meeting at, well, I should have said the meeting was opened at 7:10. And we're going to suspend standing orders so that the councillors who've called the meeting can raise what they wish to say and this discussion be had and we find a resolution, hopefully, quickly. So, Councillor Chitty, are you moving that we suspend standing orders?
Oh yes, I can do that.
Right. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hart? All in favour? That's 8-0 in favour. Thank you. Now, councillors, Councillor Chitty, you've moved that this meeting be called, and my apologies, you've moved.
Oh, we'll start again?
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to announce the... We're on? Okay. So, I'm foreshadowing a motion. My motion being that Council requests the CEO to ensure the contract with Club Links is executed on or before 1 December 2020 and to notify Council when the contract has been executed.
We're just pausing for a moment for Maria to get down the motion and bring it up on the screen. Thank you. Right, for those that may have missed out, Councillor Chitty has moved that Council requests the CEO to ensure the contract with Club Links is executed on or before the 1st of December 2020 and to notify the Council when the contract has been executed. Are there any questions or clarifications? Councillor Hart.
I would like to understand the reasons for that particular execution date.
I feel it needs to be, well, sooner than the 1st of December because if, in my opinion, and I have sought a little bit of outside advice on this, that is if we don't have an executed contract that we've left ourselves a little bit exposed as a council and an organisation.
Can I ask, was it legal advice or where the advice came from?
It wasn't, well actually one of the people that did advise was an ex-lawyer, hasn't practiced for quite some time. Other advice was, I got some advice from Tony Brown and James McGovern, sorry, not Tony. Yep, that's about it. Mm-hmm.
Councillor Chitty, do you have any written advice that you could share with Council to support this? Thank you.
Can I speak to my motion?
Just check if there's any further questions or clarifications. Councillor Hart.
I'd like to know a little bit more about these risks that we might run.
Well, without a contract, I think as a council, or as a shire and organisation, we leave ourselves wide open. I personally would not like to employ someone without a contract. We do have terms of reference, and we have had a couple of council meetings where we have agreed upon where we're going with this, but without a signed, enacted contract, to me that just rings alarm bells. And the risks are, if someone hurts themselves seriously, if a staff member hurts themselves seriously, to me they are the risks. But we might have someone else who might pose some further risks, who might have something to say.
Can I seek clarification in the opposite way by saying, do we have written confirmation from anybody that says, while Club Links are there without a contract, that there is no risk to the Shire?
Madam CEO.
Through the Chair, no, we don't have written confirmation.
Councillor Greenway.
On that note, is it worth us getting legal advice then on this matter?
If Council would like that to occur, I can certainly do that. However, we're within days of having the contract signed. So the risk will be mitigated once the contract is signed.
Well, can we have some? Sorry.
One moment, Councillor Pearce.
My question is, on the 22nd of September, we signed a council resolved in principle to give the contract to Club of Links. Why has it taken so long for the finalisation of the contract? What has been the hold-up?
Through the Chair, officers have sought legal advice on the contract, so has Club Links. There has been a bit of pushback and discussion about different things, but the major delay has been in determining what are the maintenance requirements for the facility and what the roles and responsibilities will be. Because it's a brand new facility, it's really tough to work out exactly what that's going to be, and so that has been the major kind of hold up at this point. I would also point out there's a lot going on.
Councillor Greenway.
This is the classic example of if some of that information had been fed back to us, we might not be where we are now. We didn't know until the weekend that there was no signed contract. It was just an assumption that this had all occurred.
Actually,
and as far as oh no, it's okay.
Actually, I disagree. You have been kept regularly informed. I have given regular updates of what is happening. You also know that if the contract, I would have notified, because every Tuesday, everything that happens over that week, I inform council. Now, if that contract had been signed, you would have been informed. At any time, councillors, you could have asked the question. You've only just asked the question now, and you've had an in-depth explanation from the CEO, reiterating everything we've just said here. So I'm really a little bit surprised, to be quite frank, at the special meeting, although I can understand that there's a level of concern. But were these not already addressed in the emails you've been receiving? So the questions you've asked so far this afternoon are actually the questions you asked the CEO who responded. And the answer that the CEO has just provided now is the written explanation that you received. So in one aspect, I'm not quite sure why these questions have been raised again, but if there's any further concerns that you have, by all means, because Council must feel comfortable with what is happening. So please, yes, Councillor. Councillor McEwen.
The essential terms of the contract were finalised on the 22nd of September. It's 9 weeks later. As recently as the 11th of November, I don't want to put you on the spot, Madam President, but you said on the 11th of November the Club Links contract will be presented shortly to Council. But now we've been told in an email from the CEO that that's not going to be the case. This is where some confusion has arisen.
No, actually that confusion was partly me, because when I stated that we would return that to you in the email of the 11th at the time, and I did shortly after, within an hour of sending that message reply to you today, explained that that had been an oversight on my part because I'd forgotten at that point in time, and I was writing to you under a little bit of pressure, that we had actually already endorsed the essential terms of the contract, and therefore under that, because if the contract itself has nothing else in it beside the essential terms, and that's been endorsed by Council and undertaken by McLeod's, that was where I felt, and the CEO felt, it was then an operational matter, because those matters that Council had raised had been attended to. Now, 5 minutes after that, I thought about it, and I thought, no, if Council is not comfortable with me enacting on that contract without your seeing it first, that's easily fixed, we'll just bring it back. And I sent you an email to that effect.
No, I'm sorry, Madam President, I'm not referring to the recent correspondence that we had yesterday or today. I'm referring to the...
Yes, I'm answering that. You asked me why did I say that on the 11th, and then further down the track we say, well, no, the essential terms have been within the contract, there's probably no need, and that's what we said, probably no need. Okay. I had made a mistake then in that communique of the 11th because I'd forgotten about the September endorsement of the essential terms. I was thinking we still had to do that.
The email of the 11th wasn't just an email from you. It was the notes of the the Shire President and CEO briefing, at which you were at that.
Yes.
Deputy President was at that.
Yes, absolutely.
And the CEO was at that.
Yes.
So it's not just your opinion. Those notes shouldn't be just your opinion of what you thought was happening. Those notes should be of what you discussed at that meeting.
Those are the notes. When I give a briefing note, they are my notes of that meeting.
Okay.
Okay? And in my notes, I said to you on the 11th that the contract will be coming back, forgetting that we'd already endorsed the essential terms, which was why you would need to bring your contract back, to make sure all your terms are endorsed, that the contract reflects what Council needs to say.
I understand that, but why in your notes of the meeting did you say it would be coming back if that didn't happen at the meeting? If it wasn't discussed at the meeting that the contract would be coming back to Council, why is it in your notes of that meeting?
Why? Sorry. I'm sorry. I totally did not understand where you were coming from, because that was my intention to bring it back. We discussed the contract. We discussed what needed to be done, that it was nearly at completion, and it was certainly my intent to bring it back. So that is part of that conversation we had. After the meeting, the CEO felt it was unnecessary. I also then thought about it in those terms of the essential term, or perhaps it was unnecessary to have said that. I should have perhaps corrected that at the time.
Well, that's why I'm slightly confused.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I do apologise.
Because there's been 9 weeks to resolve this contract, or, you know, the last detail
Yes.
of the contract, I just think 9 weeks is too long for that to take. Given that the manager for Works and Services left us a couple of weeks ago, I would have thought that would be something urgent to decide on while he was still here.
Madam President, that's an opinion.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, it is. I think what we need to bear in mind is not just the contract in isolation, because a number of things have been going on. What has happened in context of other things happening. So we have a reduction in staff members due to the budget process. At the same time, we have all these other businesses happening with Datascape, with the opening, with the inquiry. So you have a smaller workforce taking on a heavier load under difficult circumstances. You would also be aware too, Councillor, that the process of negotiations doesn't always run as smoothly as you like, and that in that process you are allowing for the time factors of people to come back, meet to negotiate a further term. It's not simply a straightforward matter of saying what you want to say and you get an immediate response. So, as the CEO has explained to you, the contract itself is ready. It's really now that last bit that we're doing, which is the works, what's the terminology?
Maintenance.
The maintenance schedule that has to be agreed, and because it's a greenfield site, because it's a very big undertaking for our little shire, isolating and determining all those particular roles and duties that need to be undertaken has probably taken longer than it would be in an established site, and then on top of that there's got to be an agreement who's taking on what. So that's really what has caused that delay. Thank you. Councillor Hart?
A question that Madam Shire President might like to direct to the CEO. What risks are posed or potentially posed to our local government in imposing that deadline?
Through the Chair, I think imposing the deadline is to give Council some surety around when the contract needs to be done by, and I absolutely understand that. In terms of risks of imposing that deadline, the only risk I can see is that we can't finalise the contract within that time, and we would be at risk of not complying with a resolution of Council. However, as I've said to you, the contract is within a hair's breadth of being finalised, and it's a technical term, and I'm hoping that we will be able to get the contract signed within the next few days. As I've mentioned in the ordinary council meeting in response to Councillor Chitty's question, the risks are actually being borne by Club Links at the moment because we've made no payments to them. They're actually operating the centre without any kind of payment from us. They have in place public liability insurance. The facility itself is insured by the Shire. And we have a legal intent, clear legal intent to enter into the contract. The essential terms have been endorsed by Council. They have not changed at all because it's a Council resolution, so we can't change that without coming back to you. So, in terms of, I'm not a lawyer, but if I were to speculate on what the advice would be, the advice would, I believe, be that there is clear intent and that there are obligations on both sides from both parties.
Councillor Chitty.
Can I move that we reinstate standing orders and get on with the debate of this motion, please.
Just bear with me, Councillor. Yes, Councillor Pearce, what's your question?
Yes, I listened to what the CEO said when I asked, why the delay. You indicated maintenance issues and backwards and forwards, and you said there are lots of things going on. What did you actually mean, there's lots of things going on?
My apologies for a somewhat flippant reply. It was the things that Councillor Madachi has talked about. So there is a great deal of work going on at the moment, and I won't list them all.
Councillor Chitty, you wish to move that the
Reinstate standing orders.
Reinstate standing orders. Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor McEwen. All in favour of reinstating standing orders? Thank you. That's carried 8-0. Now we're returning to the motion that has been put by Councillor Chitty. Are there any further questions and clarifications on that? Are there any... Sorry, Councillor Pearce, yes.
Is this the appropriate place to perhaps have an amendment to the, or foreshadow amendment? Is the appropriate place?
You can ask permission of Councillor Chitty whether she will include an amendment.
Where Councillor Chitty has that on or before the 1st of December, my amendment would be to have, I think, Friday is the 3rd. Could someone check with that? Yeah, I would like to amend by the 4th of December, so that gives the administration the time to make sure everything is finalised and it can be signed.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, Councillor. Yeah.
Councillor Greenway.
I'd just like confirmation that in the report that we got, page 15, it states in here that any council fees and charges, you're aware of what's on page 15. I should think you know this document inside out and back to front. That still stands, that it is still going to come back to us to set the fees and charges for
That's
the rec
correct.
centre.
Yes,
Yes.
that has been told on a couple of occasions. Yeah,
It's good
thank
to hear
you.
it again.
You're welcome. Now, at the moment, we have Councillor Chitty's motion with the amendment by Councillor Pearce of the 4th of December. I do have a question I would like to ask, because I just want to know how many days, working days, that will be, Madam CEO. So my question I'm going to address to the CEO, do you think that's a realistic expectation? Can you foresee that something could possibly throw a spanner in the works that means you cannot meet Council's resolution?
Madam President, I don't have a crystal ball, but as I've indicated, the contract is almost ready to go, and both parties have agreed on pretty much everything. I think we've also agreed that the maintenance schedule needs to be a fairly fluid kind of thing in the first year, so that we can actually determine what is needed, and in the interest of getting the contract signed sooner rather than later, both parties have agreed on that.
That's, I don't have a crystal ball, but hopefully. Right. Now, at the moment, we haven't got a seconder. Oh, no, Councillor... Oh, yes, you did. My apologies. No, we haven't got... Councillor McEwen was to come behind closed doors. So, coming back, we only at the moment have Councillor Chitty who's moved. Can I have a seconder, please? We're seconding this substantive motion. Thank you, Councillor Greenway. Councillor Chitty, do you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, I will, thank you. I appreciate the staff load that has been on the staff in the past few months, and I do respect what the Shire of 2J staff do for the Shire in enacting council decisions. And we do have a reduced staff numbers due to council decisions. So on Sunday I became aware, after conversation with the Shire President, that the contract with Club Links had not been executed. I was very concerned as to the risk this posed to the Shire of 2J. I'm a little bit baffled that the Shire President and Deputy Shire President, who is the Chair of the Audit and Risk Committee, knew the contract was unexecuted and allowed the operation of the rec centre to go ahead. Council Resolution 2610920 gave administration the go-ahead to finalise and execute the contract. I assumed that this is what happens in council, that after that resolution, that was an administrative function and it was going to go ahead. Now that all councillors are aware that it hasn't, and this motion presumably will help mitigate any risk by ensuring that an executed contract will be forthcoming within, I said a week here, but obviously it's within 8 days. I was not comfortable not having an executed contract and having that rec centre going. It's been 9 weeks and I really do think that, we should have had something happening here. We speak of good governance tonight when we were talking about the inquiry report. Good governance is ensuring that council isn't posing a risk by not having contracts signed, is providing our community with good governance. So I just feel that we really need to get onto this. I feel that you should all be behind my notice of motion here because it gives council a surety that this will happen within the next 8 days.
Councillor Greenway, do you wish to speak?
I think it's all been said. I would like to point out, though, that in the last 10 minutes or however long this has been going for, I think it's just proven too that perhaps, Madam President, in the information that is coming through from you, you could elaborate on it a little bit more in future, because there seem to be quite a few gaps in information that is feeding out to councillors. I also am gobsmacked that we don't... Yes.
Excuse me, Councillor.
Yes.
These are subjective comments and I would like you to either substantiate them or to withdraw them.
I think that was just proven, a lot of the information.
No, it wasn't proven.
I won't withdraw them. No, I will not withdraw them.
Right. Please note that Councillor Greenway's remarks have not been withdrawn. Subjective remarks have not been withdrawn.
So, can I move on now?
Councillor, just caution you, please. Yes.
Thank you. So, as Councillor Chitty made me aware of the lack of contract over the weekend, I'm the same. I know that our staff are under a lot of stress, short-staffed, a lot happening here. But this is the biggest asset in the Shire of 2J, so we have to be aware of it. We all need to have our finger on the pulse and know what's going on. And I think that there has been gaps in here, so we haven't known. That's what has brought this to a head and brought it to the table. But I think it's going to be a good outcome. Well, it looks like it's going to be a good outcome. So thank you.
I'm going to speak to this because I think it's important. I understand that it's very important that Council feels comfortable with the decision. I will reiterate that we opened only 8 weeks ago, well, 5 weeks or told we've been open, and there was an initial opening of the pool. The complex has only just opened, so the risk that we are concerned about is very recent. And I do need to say that while I believe Council really does need to be well informed, and I've always endeavoured to do that, it is also an onus on Council to read and understand what is sent out to them, and then, if they are not satisfied, to ask a question. Because the information has been forthcoming. In fact, only recently, I've yet again mentioned the contract is coming to Council. So clearly, it couldn't have been signed. Thank you. Are there any objections? Councillor?
Just a point of order. I've lost track of where we are in the proceedings. Objections to what? Sorry for being dense.
We are now at the point of speaking for or against the motion. Thank you.
I would like to speak against the motion.
Fine. Please speak, Councillor.
Thank you. To me, good governance includes ensuring that contracts are watertight. By imposing by council resolution a deadline on the CEO and her staff, council runs the risk of having a less than adequate contract. I've put it to council that we have placed our faith in our CEO, and I see it as inappropriate for council to interfere in what is essentially an administrative process. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak for or against? Councillor McEwen.
I'll speak in favour. We haven't been given any assurance that there is no risk in what's going on at the moment. My problem from a business point of view is I would not allow somebody to run part of my business if I didn't have a contract with them. I don't think the insurance situation on this is at all clear. I can't be sure from what's been said who bears the liability if some accident happens on that site. I know Club Links has got their own public liability, but Club Links aren't actually working for the Shire. I don't know what Club Links think they're doing, but they're not employed by the Shire. They're not contracted by the Shire. They are there. That's their problem. But I know if they haven't got a contract with the Shire, I just don't think that their public liability insurance would kick in. I think the Shire's carrying the public liability insurance over there, and the precinct is being operated by somebody who's not being paid. So they're not employees of the Shire that are working over there. It's not even a contractor contracted by the Shire that's working over there. So I don't understand what the status of Club Links is at the moment relative to the local government of 2J. We've got a group of people working for somebody else on our property, and there's no... Are they volunteers? Are they employees? I don't think you can answer. They're not employees. So what's their status if something happens to one of them or something happens to somebody else while they're supervising the site. The question about the contract that Councillor Hart makes is a good one. If we push this through if we allow the site to operate and we push this contract through to validate what's already happening, we may have a contract that's not optimal. But there's only one other choice. If we haven't got a contract, should those people be there? Should the site actually be open? So I think the question now is coming down to, if we haven't got a contract, should we close the site? And to allow the contract to be finalised in a proper manner, and that can take as long as you like. But the question is, should the site be operating like this? Now, I might have put everybody on the spot there by saying that, but that's how I see it. But there's no contract with these people. Everybody's agreed that. The contract hasn't been signed, and they're working over there. So who's providing the employees with a safe workplace?
I'm going to get the CEO to respond to this because I think it's quite important. Do you wish to respond, Madam
Yeah,
CEO?
I would like to, because as I've said before, there is a clear legal intent to enter into a contract with these people. If an incident occurred and we were forced to defend the Shire, we would have a very good case because there is documented evidence of the essential terms and the intent to award the contract to those people. So at this point in time, we're negotiating in good faith, and the operation being open is certainly in the best interests of the community, in my opinion, but we have a clear legal intent to enter into a contract, and any reasonable person will agree that there is intent and the essential terms have been agreed and that it's reasonable to expect that the negotiations are taking place.
Yeah, I won't argue with any of that. I agree with that. But we haven't got a contract.
Councillor Ruthin.
I've done 1 unit of law as part of my business teaching qualifications, and what was very, very simple and very well laid out is that contracts take many forms. A verbal agreement can be classed as a contract in law. So that's why I'm comfortable with the current situation.
Okay. Contract. For a contract to be valid, you have to have an offer, an acceptance, an intention and a consideration. We've got an offer, we've got an acceptance, we've got an intention, but no one's getting paid. There's no consideration taking place. The consideration of money is not there. If we've got a contract, why are we bothering to get one signed? We have not got a contract. You can't tell me we've got one when we haven't got one. It has not been executed. There is no contract.
That does not necessarily equate to being as legally exposed as being suggested. Now, I'm not disputing, I'm not arguing with you, Councillor. I'm simply stating a fact that there isn't zero to blast off. There are stages.
Point of order. I think you've already spoken to this and we're understanding orders now, so point of order.
Excuse me, Councillor. Please, just hold. This is a very important matter. No.
Suspend standing orders then, Madam President, because it's out of...
Councillor, you don't even know what I'm going to say. Will you please respect the chair? Do you wish to further? No? All right, I think enough's been said on this, so I'm going to move, we'll go back to the substantive motion. We have now down to the right of... You've got the right of reply.
Will use my right of reply. The Shire President said that there was minimal risk because we only opened the playing fields a week ago. Well, the pool's been opening for 5 weeks.
Point of order. I did not say that.
Yes, you did.
I did not say there is minimal risk because we've just opened the playing fields recently. That's not what I said.
Okay, well, I will take that back.
Thank you.
You mentioned that there was perhaps, and excuse me again if I've got it wrong, less of a risk or something to that effect of the playing fields being the pool has been open 5 weeks ago. There's a huge risk without a contract. Now, 9 weeks is a long time for the contract to, for council to wait for the contract to be enacted. It's a purely administrative, should have been handled by administration. We have an email here today from the Shire President saying that it would demonstrate good governance for councils to review and approve the contract prior to being signed by club links, given the governance and financial oversight. But it's an administrative decision. It's an administrative function, so it needs to be handled by administration. Councillor McEwen has raised some very good points regarding the risks. The CEOs, I agree with the CEOs in the legal intent side of things. I do think that actually weighs reasonably well. We have got 8 days to get this contract signed if this motion gets up, and I would suggest that this motion be voted for and we get this contract signed.
I'll now put the substantive motion. She had the right to reply. I'm now putting the substantive motion to the vote. All in favour of the substantive motion as it stands. Those in favour are Councillor Rayner, Councillor Chitty, Councillor Greenway, Councillor Pearce, Councillor McEwen. All those against is Councillor Ruthin, Councillor Madachi and Councillor Hart. Thank you. It has been carried 5-3. Thank you. The purpose of the meeting has now been concluded, so the meeting has been closed at 7:55. Thank you.